Hello, Tom. Thank you for answering the questions today that are submitted by our various means, Patreon subscribers and emails and contact forms. The first question we have today comes from Now, and he asks, do you have any advice to give to your younger audience? What can we do to help humanity in this endeavor? It seems researchers and professionals have been advancing the field for decades, but adoption and recognition is slow. Should we engage in the same scientific method of expansion in the field? I'm lost, and helping people one by one or finishing my book doesn't seem like the answer. What would you advise now, the best thing to do for your younger audience?
Well, the younger audience is not that much different than the larger audience. The only way for change to happen and take place that's meaningful is one by one. Each person's going to have to change themselves. You can't change anybody else. So the one by one is a necessity. But you don't necessarily have to approach the problem at a one by one. If you teach 1,000 people, then maybe you'll get a whole bunch of ones. Then maybe if you teach 1,000 people, maybe 10 of them or 15 of them will get the message and work toward becoming love. Maybe half of the rest will try to do the same thing, but do it only with their intellect. And maybe whoever's left after that probably don't try at all. But that's going to always be the case. The great majority will not do much. A larger part will work, but only with their intellect and therefore make no progress. Or I shouldn't say no progress, but make a little progress. And then there's a small minority who will actually hear the message, internalize it, and start working on getting rid of their fear, finding their fear, getting rid of their fear, ego, and beliefs, and growing up. But it's worth it to talk to that 1,000 people, to get that 10 people, engaged. It's worth that. And maybe you don't get 10, maybe you only get 2. It's still worth it. Even if you just get 1, it's still worth it. Because every person you set on that path is likely to attract others to that path as they progress themselves and they get rid of that fear and they start to grow up. They'll start to pull other people along that path as well. So there is no quick fix. I know particularly the young want to see change, and they want to see change now. They would like something that within a few years or maybe even a decade bears obvious fruit. But this is a long-term project that we're on. I'm working the same project that Buddha started working on 2,500 years ago. He started this project. And before him, it was Krishna, perhaps a couple of thousand years before that. So there's been a lot of people working on this project for a very long, long time and doing the best they could and getting some motion, causing some people to grow. But no, it hasn't broken into the mainstream because we haven't had the communication capability that we have now until the internet came. So it was always one person maybe standing on a soapbox or standing on a rock and talking to 50 other people. Well, it's hard to conquer the world population by standing on a rock and talking to 50 other people. But now we have an internet that will talk to 500 million people or 1 billion people within a day or a couple of days. So the rock's gotten a lot bigger. And the number of people that can hear has gotten a lot bigger. So there's potential now. Not only that, but we've grown up a lot since those days. We've grown up a lot, and we tend to realize that what we're doing could be much better. That the institutions that we have, the ideas, the politics, the law, the economic systems are not really optimized for the whole. They're optimized for the few. And we understand, more and more people are understanding that this is not a good thing, that we have to think bigger than that our vision has to encompass everyone, not just the few. And if you just randomly asked people out there in the world, do you think our institutions and our governments and our laws and our cultures are all right on the right track? Are we really making great progress, or do you think we've got a lot yet to learn? Most everybody would say, we've got a lot yet to learn. We are not on the right track. We're doing terribly. Look at all the dysfunction in the world. That's not an example of rightness. And with this general understanding that we need to do better, but not really knowing how, all you need to do is put in front of such a person a real good map of the road forward. What does it mean to grow up? How do you do that? Let them understand that fear is the problem, that ego is the problem, self-centeredness is the problem, and that they individually can make a contribution. You know, they individually actually have to solve the problem one at a time. The biggest gift they can give to the rest of the world is to grow themselves up, get rid of their fear. That's not an easy thing. That's not a simple gift. That's a lot of work entailed there. But that's the biggest gift they can give all the rest of the world, is to get themselves straightened out so that they have minimized their fear and ego and belief. And once they understand that, you'll have hundreds of millions of people trying to do that. And instead of 10 of them succeeding, you'll have 1,000 succeeding, because there'll be millions trying, or tens of millions, or hundreds of millions trying. And then you'll have maybe tens of thousands succeeding. But whatever it is, it'll be a start, a bigger start than we've ever seen before. And what we need to get into the mainstream is we need to have the high priests of our culture. Those are the scientists, particularly the physicists. They tell everybody else what to believe. And people in general listen to them. If they say that, oh, dark matter is a reality, everybody goes, dark matter, yes, that's real. No matter what they say, people will agree with that, because these are the scientists that are in charge of the truth. That's the job we've given. Okay, you scientists, go find the truth. Don't be biased. Don't be influenced by ideas. Don't get twisted around the axle with beliefs. Just find us the truth. And that's their job. They haven't done it very well. They've got stuck on a belief about materialism. So that's kind of kept them looking everywhere for the right answers except where the right answers are. So we've been a little slow about this, but all the time that we were dithering around the last 100 years about finding that solution, the communications technology has been growing. And now we actually have a solution. There is a solution to that problem. You know, why the double slit works the way it does. What's the nature of reality? What's a better physics than the physics we have now? And it takes in not only the objective world, but it also takes in the subjective world. So this bigger, larger viewpoint is now available, but it's available out on the periphery. It's available out, on the outskirts of science, but it's trying to get more and more close to the center. It's making efforts to do that, and it will. The truth is not a fragile thing. It eventually will always float to the top. So it's there. It's floating. It's working its way up to the surface. And when the scientists, the high priests of our culture, say, this is the truth, we indeed are living in a virtual reality computed by consciousness, and we aren't human beings. We're pieces of consciousness playing human beings. And our whole purpose for being here is to become love. When they see that as better physics, I just talked about the soft side of it, but there is a hard side that's the better physics. When they see that as a better physics, all the soft side will also kind of emerge with it. And in no more than a couple of decades go by, and those tens of thousands of people who grow up will be hundreds of thousands, and then they'll be in the millions. And it'll take another decade or two after that before our whole world will change. It still has to change one at a time, but it won't get started until it gets into the mainstream. It won't get started in a big way until it gets into the mainstream. It can't get into the mainstream unless the high priests of our culture allow it into the mainstream, because they get to tell everybody else what's true.
Now, I do
That's the
remember,
position we've given them.
I do remember from one of our interviews, you said that the scientists, physicists will have to come to that understanding, but also if you're reaching the people will drag the scientists into the future, kicking and screaming, I think.
Yes, they will.
um,
Yeah, and we're working on projects to help do that. We got several irons in this fire. It's just not the philosophical and science one, but we've got other ways that we're trying to force the science community to look beyond just the material world and see that there is more reality out there than just material things. And if you're interested in that, go look up cusac.org, cusac.org, and you will see that we have other things going on to try to help convince those scientists, and we're working the problem. Now, Buddha and Krishna before him, and then all the other prophets and all the other smart people who have seen the nature of reality and commented on it, from philosophers to scientists to all sorts of people. I mean, I'm just one of 1,000 voices who have gotten here. There's a lot of people who understand this, but they've never been able to break into the mainstream. It's always been on the sidelines, in the margins. Well, now we have that opportunity to get there. And all I can tell you, young people, is that we're working on it. If it takes another decade or two or three, maybe you'll be old people by the time we get there, and you won't be young people anymore. You may be the old people. But hey, look, it's been 2,500 years, since Buddha. And Buddha had all the right answers. The things that he said and the things that I say are not all that different. But once you turn it into a religion and you get hundreds of thousands of people, it tends to change the message a little bit. And you end up with religions that are more about gaining more political and economic power than they are really about the message. And that's just the nature of a low quality of conscious humanity. So it takes a while, but it's still bubbling. We're still working on it. Humans haven't given up yet. I should say consciousness playing humans haven't given up yet. And we're going to continue to work on it. So if you're young, I would say that living now, being alive now and being a young person, you have a good chance to seeing this actually happen. You have a good chance of living in a kinder, gentler world. It may take another 40, 50 years to get there, but I think you have a good chance of seeing that. So it's not hopeless. You think, oh, one person at a time, and there's 9 billion of us. That'll take another 50 millennia. No, it's not like that. Once we get into the mainstream, I figure it's a couple of decades before it goes viral and we basically change our whole culture to be gentler and more civilized and less barbaric, less self-centered. So maybe even in your lifetime, young people, you'll be able to see that, but not your lifetime, probably the lifetime of your children. It's not that far off. But we old people like me and young people like you, we need to keep working on it all the time we're here. Keep feeding it, keep sharing it with others, expanding the ideas with just, even if it's only 10 more people, learn something from that lecture to 1,000. We need to keep working that so that when we do hit that critical mass, the ideas go viral and the whole thing changes in a week. And we're getting there. We're getting on that things are changing faster and faster than they were before. Like I say, we're on internet time now. Things go really quick. So let's keep at it. Don't get discouraged because you can't change it today. It's not likely it's going to happen this year or next year. It's going to be a process that will take some decades, but we're right on the cusp of doing it. We've never been so close. And we just keep getting a little bit closer every year. So now I may not live to see all of that, but you might if you're young, and my grandkids hopefully will see that happening. But it's not quick. You're talking about social revolution, bigger and more thorough than any social revolution that's ever happened anywhere on this planet. So you're not talking about a small thing here, what we're trying to do. This is huge. It's going to be a paradigm shift 100 times bigger than all the rest of the paradigm shifts added up and multiplied by 10. This is going to be the big one when we finally get this across, that we are indeed consciousness, that this whole system is consciousness, that this universe that we're in is a virtual reality trainer for entropy reduction for individuated units of consciousness. So when we get that idea across, then a lot will change with that idea, because with that idea comes individual responsibility. It's up to you to grow yourself. It's not somebody else's job to fix things. It's your job to work on yourself. Nobody can change you. So you've got a full-time job here to get rid of your fear and to grow up and become love. And yes, you can live the rest of your life. You can have kids, get married, go have a life. Doesn't matter. You don't have to join a cloistered service someplace. You can just do whatever you want to do, but grow, learn, become, get rid of your fear. And that will be your optimal contribution that you can make as a single citizen of Earth, is to do that. So make that, take an effort to make that contribution. That's yours to make. And it's not insignificant. It's part of generating this wave that is just beginning now. It's just at the very incipient parts. It's just starting to form. But every person who joins it becomes a part of the solution. So don't be frustrated. Don't be discouraged. It does take a long time. This effort's been percolating for many thousands of years, but it's getting close to its culmination into a kinder, gentler society. So, hey, now's the time to do your best, fix yourself, and not worry about fixing others. Just fix yourself, be kind, be gentle, give love, and stay positive. Don't stay grumpy. Everything's awful. Everything's horrible. The institutions suck, blah, blah, blah. Being negative helps create that negativity. Only positivity will defeat it. So stay positive, young people. That is the key to success. That's being part of the solution and not being part of the problem. If you get depressed and you're unhappy, what's the use? It's too big. It's too hard. We're never going to get there. All of that negative thinking helps the wrong side. It helps the side of high entropy. It helps the side of the negative. Be positive. We will get there, even if it takes another 1,000 years. we will get there, and we're going to be part of that solution. So that's what I have to say
Well,
with
thank you,
the young
Tom.
people.
I think he has a good point in reaching the young people. One advantage they have is that they're more open than some of the other generations. They're open to new ideas, and this communication level that we have now, that's their thing. That communication gets out there quickly. So that's a good thing. So that one-on-one thing, that's not a bad way to go. Because as my actor friends would say, if my performance reaches just one person, I'm happy. I'll play to him. And that part is true. But we have the advantage of the internet and the openness of youth. And I think the desire now and the awareness that we need to change. And your theory, beautifully represented at the CUSAC event that you had recently. A lot of distinguished scientists have gotten together at that first CUSAC event, that's the Center for the Unification of Science and Consciousness, and spoke about consciousness as fundamental. With that collaboration of these fine, distinguished institutions and scientists, that will help also get things going as well. Thank you for answering that for now. Thank you. Love is the answer. If there's one way to discover this truth that Tom Campbell, physicist and consciousness expert, has concluded, it is through your own experience. Give yourself the gift of experiencing yourself. After all, Tom has stated so many times that if it's not your experience, it's not your truth. So learn to experience with Tom's Exploring Consciousness and Everything Paranormal program, and unlock those natural abilities for yourself. Discover why love is the answer. Binaural beats included to assist you. Details are in the description below. Thank you.
I and MBT Events hope you like this video. If you do, then you should consider being a Patreon member, because Patreon members get early access to our special content. You will also be able to get your questions answered by me in special Q&A sessions, and most importantly, your contribution as a patron member will enable us to produce the content that you're looking for. So thank you.